You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 86. And today we're talking about what it means to embody our true, natural, authentic power. Why we have trouble with that, how we get tripped up around the whole idea, and what to do about it. And we're going to talk about that through the coaching, guidance, and wisdom of one of my favorite people on the planet. You get to meet Sara Arey. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Ideal Practice. This is your host, Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and I am so excited to be here with you guys. We are diving into 2024 with gusto. I have such a delightful conversation queued up for you today. I don't know about you, but as I record this, we are past the holidays. I have been out for a couple of weeks. I actually had planned to publish over the holidays, but in the end decided to be kinder to myself and allow a little space in my life because I just needed that. Lots going on with the family. You know about that. I've talked about that some here, and every minute is precious these days. So when I have an opportunity to be a little bit more focused and a little bit more present with those who are near and dear to me, I'm going to take that. So I've been out for a few weeks, but I am back. I hope that you have given yourself some space and grace as well over these last couple of weeks. Hope you've gotten some rest. Hope you've got your house back in order. Hope you are ready to get going because we got things to do, y'all, and we are ready to take on a whole new, awesome, beautiful year where big things are going to be happening for you, my friend. I know this. I know this without a doubt, and today's conversation is an important part of kicking that off. So today, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Sara Arey. I first met Sara through a former coach that I was working with when she was one of the team around that coach. She was the mindset coach, the official mindset coach for a program I was in for a long time. She has grown beyond that role, and today herself embodies so much of what we're going to be talking about today. Sara is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine who I have had the pleasure of working with personally several times. She has helped me with all kinds of internal blocks that I wasn't even always aware that I had. She has her own kind of magic that I believe you will have a sense of after our conversation today. Sara is a best-selling author. She's a speaker. She is an energy mentor. She specializes in working with women, especially women entrepreneurs who feel stuck, who are unsatisfied, who know something is off, but they can't quite figure out what. And she helps them create a much more rewarding life, rewarding business, rewarding sense of self. Her passion really is in helping other people claim their own personal power, their own awesomeness, and learning how to be a leader in their own life. You know how much I love that. And in this conversation, we're going to dive into all kinds of things, including some of the conditioning that we all experience, some of the challenges that we all have in stepping into and claiming and being at peace with our own sense of agency, and how important that is to not only to our business success, but to our sense of well-being in our life and to the way that we show up for our clients, y'all. This really is far-reaching. It's important. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed this conversation. I think you will. This is going to be one you're going to want to listen to more than once. So without further ado, Let's get into the interview. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. I am so happy to be here today. I am sharing with you one of my sort of secret weapons, one of my best friends, someone I have wanted to have on this show since it started. But to be honest, this is very true. I have been sort of saving her because what she brings to the table is so rich and so deep and so beyond the typical kind of things you hear on a podcast about private practice that I really knew that when the time would be right to have her on. And today is that time. So with that, let me just say hello, Sara Arey, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You are such a treat, darling. We were talking back and forth about what we were going to talk about. And I'm like, we never have trouble coming up with things to talk about. But where we want to go today, I wanted to just start by folks have already heard a little bit in the intro about what we're going to be diving into today, which is all these charged energy we have around the concepts of money, our own personal power, how that influences and impacts our level of success and the way we serve our clients. That's where we're going to go today. But why don't you start us off by telling people who have not been introduced to the world of Sara Arey a little bit about who you are, what you do, just say hi to folks. Tell us a little bit about you. And where are you? They don't know that either.
I am in North Carolina, and I am an author, a speaker, and a women's embodied power coach.
Oh, okay. Okay. I love it. All right.
So what I do is I help women who feel stuck and unsatisfied, like they know there's something that they want or they know there's something more. And I help them connect with their own inner knowing so that they create their richest, juiciest, most fulfilling and authentic life.
That sounds pretty juicy.
Yeah. And I help them do this by claiming their power and owning their awesomeness and truly becoming the leader of themselves.
Okay. So talk to me about that a little bit, because leader of themselves, leadership is something I know you have consciously and actively worked on. And that's been a huge part of your own journey. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the journey that you have been through yourself, which is not where I plan to start, but I think it's an important part of this story, and explains why you do what you do. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So above all, I am a voracious learner.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see something that looks appealing, I dive into it, especially if it scares me in what I think of as just the right way. Like that scared feeling that, oh, there's something here. And it feels scary because it's new. And I want what's on the other side of that.
You go into the fear, not away from it. You're like, okay, there's something here I need to pay attention to. I want to go get it. Wow. Okay, great.
Yeah. So I started off 30 years ago, learning to work with energy through Reiki, through doing hypnosis work, multiple modalities, just trying all kinds of things. And then I did some in-depth work with a process called TAT, Tapas Acupressure Technique, and worked for over 8 years directly with the founder, helping her create an international certification program. So I really went in depth in this particular technique.
And TAT is what you were doing when I met you originally.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And that's all about working with mindset blocks and it's shifting the energy patterns, like working with traumas and things like that.
So you were working with tapas for a few years. Yeah, several years actually.
Yeah, and that was incredibly helpful on so many levels, especially working with past traumas and things. And then I started coaching entrepreneurs when I met you
Yeah.
and discovered that I wanted to learn more about leadership. And that felt like, in some ways, a 180 from what I had
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
And so I did an in-depth experiential leadership program. And that's work that I continue doing for myself with this particular group.
So I remember this because you were coaching. So for those of you who are listening, I was in a coaching program for several years that was like a large mastermind with folks from all over the world. And Sara was one of the coaches in that program. That's where we originally met. But I watched you. I remember when you joined this leadership program because it was super experiential in a way that most leadership programs are not. And I was a little surprised because I was like, why are you doing that? Because it is a completely different energy. That's more what I feel like is outward energy, external energy. And I associate you with all this internal work because you are such a master at that. So yeah, so you were drawn to this and you joined this program, which was probably like life changing for you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
And that's the balance I was reaching for. I've been doing so much internal work. It's like, well, so now how do I show up in the world differently? Because it
Okay.
doesn't always just automatically translate. I thought it would when I was doing all the energy work. I thought, well, now I'll just be different in the world. But that didn't just naturally always follow.
Yeah.
So I did the leadership work. And in the midst of that, I realized how disconnected I was from my body, which I would not have said I was.
At all. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. No, I've done all this energy work. Of course, I'm in my
Right.
body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still had so much conditioning and hangups and fear around
Blocks
blocks.
around
Yeah,
showing up. Right. Yeah.
around showing up. Like in the leadership program, I ended up having to do a dance in front of a group, the whole group. There were 28 people there with someone else. And we were supposed to be doing it in a way that was opposite to what felt comfortable to us. So
Oh
already
my.
we're in our discomfort zone. And then my partner is saying, and let's do it in our bathing suits, which, has the type of figure that you would go, oh, well, of course she would be comfortable doing that. I was so uncomfortable. It was
Like no
like
way in hell.
discomfort zone times 10. And I just cried and cried for like an hour before the performance.
But still did it.
I never doubted I was going to do it. I was
So let me ask you
always
about that. Where we talk about getting outside of your comfort zone, and my audience, of course, they are healers, they're therapists, they're energy workers, the energy healers themselves. They do this kind of stuff, and there is this constant tension between when do we push ourselves and it's appropriate, and when do we push ourselves and it's not appropriate? We're challenging ourselves to do something that really isn't good for us. How do you? So in that moment, because as I'm hearing that, I'm thinking, well, maybe all of that you were feeling was saying this is not the right thing for me, but you didn't feel it that way. Like there was more to it than that. So how did you pull yourself through something that seemed so massively uncomfortable in that moment? Because as I'm saying this, I'm thinking this is a part of what practitioners have to deal with when they own a practice. They are constantly having to pull themselves or push themselves through something that feels massively uncomfortable in the moment. Yeah. I'm not going to ask anybody to dance in a bathing suit in front of a group, but I know that this was symbolic and there was more to it. But how, talk to me about that a little bit, about that tension between, is this right? When is this just fear and it's okay fear and it's healthy fear and it's good for me? And when is it my body or my heart saying, no, 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 no?
That is a great question. And it's one that clients have asked me many times. And it comes down to a few things. One is knowing yourself and knowing, is this a shutdown no,
Mm,
Like, absolutely not. Or is this is challenging so many old patterns of mine
mm.
that is truly uncomfortable in a growth edge sort of way,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is not a shutdown,
Yeah.
it's a processing. And sometimes part of it is, what are you committed to?
Mm.
In that moment, I was really committed to seeing this through.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I did say bathing suits. I don't know. I mean, she wore two piece. I wore one piece, and I had on, and we both wore like leggings underneath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I did adapt it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you may just get it wrong. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I could have actually done that. Or, oh, that really was a no. So then you take that learning and you think, okay, so how did that feel? So when I feel that again,
Mm.
I will know it's more likely this thing.
Okay. You learn from that experience, and what your
To
emotional
learn.
reaction to it was, right? And how you felt both before, during, and after. Okay.
And
Okay.
what your body is telling you,
Okay.
because we get so much information from our bodies. And there is going to be stuff that comes up when we do something new and something
Okay.
uncomfortable.
Like what? Like what does that mean? We get information from our bodies when we're doing something. Like what does that look like in real life? Yeah, just tell me, like, give me some examples of that. What you've seen with your clients, what you've learned with yourself in terms of I'm stepping. So, because the phrase that you used a minute ago, your growth edge, the difference between is this a shutdown no versus is this my growth edge? This is part of my commitment. This is part of my intention. This is part of where I know I need to go, need to grow. That I love that because I say that to clients all the time. I will say, I think this is your growth edge right now. This is where you've run up against the limit of what you've been able to do so far. And now we need to expand that a little bit. How does your body communicate to you when you're in that space, when that's what's going on here? Because the blocks that we run into that we have all the time that we don't even realize, I'm guessing that that's part of this. So like what happens? What does that look like?
This has been a real learning journey for me. And so if I say something and it sounds like, oh, well, that sounds easy, know that I
Yeah.
know it is not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that sound the easiest are actually the hardest to implement and actually
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
So a lot of our blocks are mental.
Mm-hmm.
And when we try to make a decision from our head, we are either living, like being shaped by those blocks, or we're being defiant of those blocks.
Mm.
And neither of those is freedom.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And
Okay.
neither of those may be authentic
Okay.
because it's all in reaction. So the more we can do to actually notice our bodies, like put our attention on our bodies. And through practices, I have felt it's like feeling my energy level drop. So my energy feels focused in my head, and then I can feel it moving down into my body. Kind of like riding an elevator down.
You mean when you're trying to make a decision or you're just trying to tune in and sort of like just like what do I feel about this? What do I
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And I know a lot of your audience are women,
Yeah.
and the natural flow of feminine energy is downward.
Mm.
And we're not taught that because it's so much about enlightenment and
Right.
high vibration and actually letting your energy sink down. I think of it as getting rooted.
Oh, I love that. That's true. So, yeah, enlightenment energy, raising your vibrations. And I instinctively, and we're both using our hands as we talk. I instinctively imagine like this funnel of light that goes. Like often, I think that with meditation, I will think about, and I imagine a light going upwards through through the crown chakra into the heavens, like opening up to the universe, of course, which is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
But you're right. This is the other direction, which is grounding and heart-centered, belly, all like feeling all of it in your body, not just in what you think. Yeah. Okay. I'll shut up and let you keep going.
So the more we practice that, the more we can feel in our bodies. Is this authentic for me? Is this aligned for me? And we can still have all the feelings, we can still have all the thoughts, and we can come to a deeper knowing. So it's not trying to shut anything down.
Right.
It's just helping in the midst of all of this, what's true for me.
So this is not the way we tend to think about decisions we need to make, actions we want to take, where we want to go, just in our own personal growth, much less as our growth as a business owner, right? Therapists and healers are more tuned into this than most, I suspect, because we certainly see it in our clients. We want it in our clients. I'm remembering I used to talk to I was in a consultation group with a clinical psychologist for many years, a very traditional, classic, older gentleman who would often talk about when he was working with clients, he could tell he was getting somewhere because he would see their energy drop, and he would talk about their body, like they're just the way that they would shift in their seats. He said you could see it when they get out of their head and into their body. He would use that language, which was unusual actually, but he was an unusual guy. So I'm thinking we know this, we understand this with our clients, but I don't know that we know it with ourselves. So tell me, because you have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs in all kinds of industries, literally from all over the world. Tell me, what are some of the ways that you've seen this manifesting in, like, where people get into trouble and how it gets better when you work with them? So what is it like? Can you think of an example of something that you've seen with a client where they were coming at it from their head and they needed to get into their body to know what the right thing was for them? Is that a fair question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we get in our heads, we can go through endless cycles of should I, shouldn't I, is this right, is this wrong, all
Is this
those
smart?
things.
Is this strategic? Right. Is this what all the gurus say I should do?
Exactly. Right. Is this my path to success? Is this, and so we can just spin and spin and spin.
So true.
And then what I have often seen with clients is when they drop down into their bodies, like first you get to the heart and you get to genuine emotion. But a lot of times we think we're feeling, but we're actually thinking our feelings and not feeling our feelings. And feelings have energy. If you think of emotion as energy in motion, when we can tap into that energy, we get to use it for us rather than projecting it out, spinning it out, never accessing it because we're still in our thoughts.
Right.
So when we can tap into our emotions and then let them move through our bodies, and I know this is just audio, I'm actually moving my body as I'm saying this.
Right.
Then we start dropping even more deeply and get to that root knowing. And so I have seen people, had a client in front of me who was struggling with the question of, do I go this way or that way? And feeling so caught. And then drop down in and see, oh, it's not really either of those.
Okay.
Like when we think, is it this or this?
Yeah.
That's a false dichotomy. It's never just one or the other. And so often they come up with a creative, oh, actually, it's maybe a combination of the two, or it's this third way, or it's something I had never considered before.
That just emerges, pops into their head, comes out of their awareness. That's unexpected because they stop overthinking and create space for new inspiration to pop in. Okay.
Yes.
Love
And
this.
that's when you're actually getting into creativity.
Yeah. So as we're talking, I'm thinking about some of the struggles that I see my own coaching clients deal with most commonly. And some of the, I mean, there's plenty of them, and everyone who listens to this, I think, will be able to relate to this. But this, some of the more common ones, especially it is honestly with women. Honestly, I hate to say that, but I don't hardly ever see this with men. That doesn't mean it's not out there. I have, but it is really rare. I don't see most of the guys that I know struggling with feeling guilty about charging for what they do. I just don't. That hardly ever comes up. But I see that all the time with women. I see it with a lot of my clients are introverts who are very comfortable one-on-one with someone behind a closed door in their office all day, but don't make me get out there into the world in some way. Don't make me put myself out there. So being seen, charging what you're worth, owning your specialty, your expertise, being willing to say, yeah, I'm good at what I do. And that counts, that matters, that means something. All of these are ways where I see so many of the women I coach really struggle, or they may intellectually say it, but you're right. They don't feel it. They may say, of course I'm good at what I do. And of course this is a proper thing for me to charge for, whatever, but they don't feel it at all. And so when it comes to taking action in the world, what you said about, I was making all these changes internally, so I thought it would just happen externally. It doesn't, because when it comes to taking action, they freeze or they self-sabotage. And I find myself having the same conversations with someone over and over again because they're running into themselves. I'd love, when someone finds themselves stuck in this kind of a pattern, I keep having a problem with this, I never seem to be able to stop doing this one thing or break through this one thing. How is, I'm trying to think about, I don't want to get to the solution too quickly because I want to go there, but I want to make sure we understand what the problem is. What's going on when someone keeps making the same mistakes over again or can't bring themselves to launch a marketing campaign, own a specialty, define a niche, raise their rates, stand out in all their glory? Yeah.
Those are exactly the things that I work with my clients on. And the reason you see this so much more in women is because women and people who were raised as women are conditioned this way. We are taught to be this way. So in my story, after I did the leadership, I realized I wasn't in my body like I wanted to be. And so I started doing things like pole and chair dancing. And then I signed up,
which I thought was nuts. I was like, what?
Yep.
Yep.
And then I went further and became certified as a love, sex, and relationship coach.
Yeah.
To work on my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have been doing further work around women's power and helping women decondition. And one of the things women are taught is that we are power adjacent.
Oh, yeah.
We have a man in our life or an institution in our life that really has the answers and the power and is able to make the decisions. And
yeah,
we're not taught that we are powerful, like literally full of power.
Yes. And if we think we are, we get shamed for it. That is so true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the things that help us access our power are taboo in society.
Yeah.
Like in many arenas, dancing, sex and sensuality, even dressing up. There's a whole arena of persona play that can happen when you dress up as the person you want to be. And I talk about the importance of nurturing our inner child and our inner sovereign, our inner queen, our inner, and I do use a lot of feminine language, not because I think we all have masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah.
And there is an enormous spectrum of that.
Yeah.
And I use it as a way of reclaiming it. Because feminine energy has been so repressed for so many millennia.
So for those of like some of you who are listening to this are going to be like, yeah, you got it, sister, talk, preach, and there will be some who are like, oh, I don't know about that. Right. I am instantly thinking about the yin and the yang, external, internal, light, dark, sun, moon. And it is indeed the balance of masculine and feminine that makes everything work. Like it is that play of energies that makes so many things work. And in Western culture, at least in our dominant culture, feminine energy, feminine perspectives, we've made massive progress. We're a long way from where we were when I was growing up, but we are still we are not encouraged to own the fullness of what we bring to the table. And your point about power adjacent strikes me. I love that language. I love that language. For many of y'all who are listening, if you've heard of the concept of referred leadership, referred power, which is there are different types of power, right? And you can probably speak to this better than me, Sarah, but there's the power that we claim through our credentials, our training, our experience, the letters after our name, if you have them, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's the power that we get that is sort of conferred upon us in that way. There's the power that you get by hanging out with powerful people, aligning yourself with where you see the power. So I get credibility because I am endorsed by this organization, or I have this tribe that I'm a member of, that makes me something. I was a member of the Forbes Coaches Council for a long time. Don't you know I use that? Of course I use that, because that added implied power, right? Of a certain type. What you're talking about is that we as women especially, and so many therapists and so many healers, even our fellas, they are much more comfortable with and in touch with their feminine energy. So that's a part of this. That is, oh gosh, I'm going to get on a soapbox. That's a huge issue in my industry, period. And I think it is because it is from that feminine place that is not always recognized or endorsed or supported or allowed or even allowed. Mm-hmm. I don't like that word. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm talking about is your inner power.
Your own. Mm-hmm.
The power you came into this life with.
Yeah.
The power that you can have walking into a room, not saying a word.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being a presence. And when we can tap into that and own it, then we are being our power.
Amen. Good Lord. Yeah, that's it.
And you were talking about money before, and there is a triad of sex, money, power. And that's something that we tend to retract from and pull back from, because it has been so abused and out of balance. Because that power that people focus on is power over.
Yes.
And that's the misguided power. And not at all what I'm talking about.
That's the abuse of power.
Right. I am talking about the inner power. And when you access that power, and when we say sex, it's sex energy, sensuality, kundalini. It's the energy of desire. Another taboo that we have been taught. Somebody used the phrase, flowers grow toward a sun they will never reach. And that is the power of desire. And it's desire, commitment, intention all go together.
Say that again. Desire, commitment, and intention?
All go together, because when they don't, your intention's coming from your head, which may not be authentic and aligned.
Yeah.
Your desires are what's most authentic to you. And it can be a desire to work with many people. It can be a desire for more time outside, a desire to sleep, to truly rest.
Ah, a desire for more freedom,
Mhm.
a desire to work with a certain population, a desire to set your own hours and do things your way, to use whatever techniques and methods speak to you, as a desire to work in an environment that makes you happy to be in. A
A
desire, yeah.
desire, a desire to experience your own self-expression,
Mm.
to experience yourself as powerful.
Oh, girl. So this is the thing. This is the thing. I often will say it's okay to want more, but we are taught not to want more. We are taught that as women and girls, but we are really taught that as clinicians, as healers, as I mean, if you are an MD, that's fine to a point. Even there, it's not always. But in my industry, clinical social work, massage therapy, yoga, we are, how dare you want more? You get to help people. Isn't that enough for you?
Yes. And the
You can
way,
hear the tone. I get an attitude. You hear it in my voice. Yeah. I get an attitude.
oh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And the way that gets
Distorted or
distorted is a
manifested.
great word. The way
Yeah.
it gets distorted in our society is more means accumulation
Yeah.
and hoarding.
Mm-hmm.
More, when I work with entrepreneurs, the more is often about experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
That when women, so let's talk about money, when women receive more money, they tend to give more money.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that experience of receiving more, standing in that power of receptivity,
Allowing to sit
allowing,
in. Mm-hmm.
and the experience of sharing it
Mm-hmm.
that most often lights women up.
Right.
And not just women, of course, but it's that heart and rooted energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at nature, trees storing what they need, and we've discovered trees have a whole network of roots
Right. Underground.
connected,
That's right.
right, connected by the mycelium, that they share resources in ways we never realized.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that book about the mother tree? Do you know that book? I have it. I haven't read it. It's on my shelf. I should look that up and make sure I drop that in the show notes. Yeah. There is this whole new understanding of how the mother tree supports an entire forest, which is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what we do. Yeah. That's so true.
Right. And if there is an ailing tree, the trees around it will send it more resources.
Yeah. That's true.
And you can't do that if you haven't received the resources.
Right. If you are ailing yourself, if you
Right.
are right, if you're living in poverty, if you are living in lack, if you are minimizing your own power, like literally minimizing and cutting off your own power. Yeah.
So, one thing I talk to my clients about is giving from your overflow and not from your essential.
Oh, okay.
Like you get to have what is in the cup so that your cup is full.
Yeah.
And then from the overflow, you share with joy and genuine generosity.
Love it. So it's not about you doing without. It's
Right.
the, right. Which I do think that also kind of gets thrown in here sometimes. Like, well, why do you want so much? Well, it's okay for you to have a lot if you turn around and give it all away. It's actually okay for you to have a lot just because it makes you happy. You know?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And when we take the time to truly receive it and celebrate it, if we
Mm.
have that mixed message of it's wrong for me to have this, but I really want it,
Yeah.
then it's hard to actually digest having it. And when we digest having it, we don't need more trying to fill a void within us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
not about the accumulation.
It's not about
And
having for the sake of having.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, can I receive this big number that I've never received before? Can I be the person who has a 6 or 7 figure business?
Right.
And that's going to call us into so many discomfort zones. That's why it's so hard for entrepreneurs, healers, practitioners, because you don't get to just sit in your office and have people one after another walk in.
Right.
You have to do the uncomfortable things that call you into a bigger version of yourself.
Okay, say that again. That's an important point. Yeah.
You have to do the things that call you to a bigger version, a more powerful version, a more embodied version.
Listen to that, people. Listen to this, because this is where I see people getting stuck. Who am I to be all that? Who am I to make that kind of money? Who am I to have a thriving group practice? Who am I to make $1 million? Who am I to take a month off every summer just because I want to? Who am I to be all that?
And then, of course, the full circle thing is then we are better practitioners and coaches and therapists.
Yeah.
Because we're coming with this more embodied energy and we're modeling for our clients.
Amen.
What is possible for them too.
Yeah.
And it's even more that our energy changes.
Mm.
And this was what I didn't get from just doing energy work.
Okay.
It was actually working with the body and doing the embodied practices and the more relational things like leadership and this more recent work that I've been doing. It's like, yes, we need to have our inner selves aligned and continually healing, clearing, grounding. And also, we live in this world of relationships.
Yep.
And interactions. And it has to come through that too. So those are the
have
new
to
things that
engage.
I'm
You can't
bringing to my
hide.
clients.
Yeah. You can't hide. You have to engage with the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do this personal work first, and then you have to bring that out. You have to take it out there. Yeah.
And it's both and. I'm continually doing both and. For myself, with my clients. It's why I love doing group work. I love doing one-on-one work because it's all important.
In different ways and impacts different ways. Yeah. Yeah. As you're talking, Sara, like literally, I've known you for a long time. I've lost track of how many years we've known each other. I've worked with you plenty of times myself over the years. I have been in a puddle more than once after a call with you for very good reasons. And I have watched your own transformation into this. Like, you've always struck me as being someone who is like deeper and more grounded and more self-aware than most. And those of us who are in your circle, those of us who are, we're all part of the same friend group. We all have this, when Sara's in the house, something's going to happen, because you automatically have you have that presence that you were talking about, that when you can walk into a room without saying anything, and it's just an energy about you. And it doesn't make you, quote, all that. It's not about being better than other people or lesser than other people. It is about being fully in your own body, knowing yourself. And I know that you have done so much work, over and over and over again with different teachers. You are walking the talk that you teach the rest of us. But as you're describing this importance of embodying your own power so that you can model it for others, so that you can receive and flow that energy in and back out again, that income in and back out again, that impact, the good that you receive is the good that you also give. As you're describing that, I am so wanting this for my people. I so want this for them, because when you said that just now about you come full circle when you own your own power and you learn to be comfortable with it, stop apologizing for it, recognize that this isn't power over, this is power to support, power to encourage, power to heal, power to lead. When you get there, your work is better. Your practice runs better. You do make more money because you're doing more good, and your clients get better. Like everything is better because you're not working with, half your body all the time. And I had this image of it, like when we hold back, it's like we're showing up and working with one hand tied behind our back. And you're saying, untie yourself. Untie yourself. Bring all of you to the fore. Bring all of you to the session. Bring all of you to the work. Bring all of you to the business. Serve with all of you. Receive with all of you. Right? It's so beautiful and so powerful and so needed in our world and in our industry, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful way to say that too. Another way that I think of it is when we own our power, our gifts, our presence, it actually amplifies the energy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the differences you're seeing in me, is that I finally own my gifts, which doesn't mean other people are any less gifted. It's like I can now see even better and appreciate even more other people's gifts.
Yeah.
Because I've owned mine.
Yes. Amen. Absolutely.
And it's like taking a diffuse light and honing it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like light can cut metal
in
a laser when it is focused, and it goes further when it's focused.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So hone your light. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Own it. Always. So give us, you've got me convinced, and hopefully you and I together are convincing a few others, to stop playing small, essentially. I keep thinking about that untie yourself, what I said a minute ago, because that is sort of what it feels like. It's like untying your heart, untying your spirit. Stop up. And I did my last, actually an episode that I recorded right before the holidays was all about getting comfortable with acknowledging how awesome you are, because I feel so strongly about this. It is something that I have had to work on myself. And I shared this in that episode, that there had been so many times in my life when I have been attacked or criticized, sometimes quite literally, and sometimes very openly, and sometimes very publicly, for bringing what is my best to the table, for showing up as my full self. So it's not that the world always says thank you and yay for you, right? Oh. You still have to be okay with it, and you have to learn how to stand in your own power no matter what happens. Talk to us about some of the practices that you recommend, maybe 2 or 3 things that people can do to, when they recognize that they've got a block, or they recognize that they are playing with one hand tied behind their back. What are some practices we can do to begin to shift this pattern, this habit, this tendency that we all have, or that so many of us have? What are some things we could do?
Well, the practices I'm going to share are all about embodiment. Because as I talk about in my book, you can know things in your head, you can know things in your heart, and you can know things in your body. And it's when you know it at all 3 that you're fully living it.
Okay.
And there are a lot of things that we already know about mindset and things to address the head. And so I'm going to share things about the body.
Okay, perfect.
So one thing, I came up with this exercise for myself one day when I needed to do something and it just had me like wanting to curl up in a ball to think about doing it.
Yeah.
So I literally curled up in a ball. You can do this in a chair. I did it on the floor.
Okay.
But just curling in, and that's that nurturing the inner child. Like letting your body go there. Because we have so many messages about, well, I should be strong and I should.
Right. The Amy Cuddy thing. Right. Right.
And when you actually let your body move into what you're already experiencing, it's giving the message, this is okay. It's okay that I feel this. And just letting yourself breathe. Breathing actually moves energy, moves emotions. And in that position, it may be more shallow breathing, which is fine.
Yeah.
So you breathe and then you stretch out. So I call this the crab and the starfish. So the first one is
crab and the starfish. Okay.
And then just letting your arms spread out, your back straighten. If you're standing, have Amy Cuddy's power pose.
Right.
And like I said, you can do this in a chair too.
Yeah.
And the purpose is to let yourself expand. And this is nurturing the inner sovereign.
I love the inner sovereign, y'all. Isn't that the most beautiful phrase? Yeah. So
and what I did
if your instinct is to curl up, if your instinct is to tuck in, we both used to work with a coach who called it going fetal. If your instinct is like, I just need to curl up in a ball for a while, then do that. Give yourself that, honor that energy, that requirement, that need, but don't stay there. Stay there for a while.
And don't stay there.
And don't stay there. Yeah.
And what I did that day was I did both of those several times.
Oh,
so I starfished and breathed. And it was like, that feels like my limit. Okay.
Yeah. That's enough. Back in.
Up again.
Okay.
I can move between the two. I'm not stuck in either one.
And y'all, as she's describing this for me, she's acting it. So I'm watching her as she curls her fist, her arms tightly in front of her, like you do when you're cold, when you cuddle up cold and you sort of hug yourself, versus when it's like, woo, I'm feeling good. And you're stretching your arms, right? Yeah. But you went back and forth between both of those over and over again as you were playing with that energy. Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. But when we have the dichotomy, the this or that, yes or no, there's no fluidity, no flow. And when we realize we're okay at both ends of that spectrum, and we can be anywhere.
Yeah. Love it.
And this is a way to do that physically.
Okay. Until you feel complete, I'm guessing. Until you feel complete. Right. Beautiful. The crab and the starfish. Love that. What's new about that to me is the idea of going back and forth, like moving in and out, ebbing and flowing between those two energies, not just one or the other. Because I think the should that automatically popped up in my head was like, oh, okay, I can start here, nice and tight, and giving into that or honoring that, whatever. But then I need to get past that and move into this. But that's not what you're saying. You're saying play with both ends of that spectrum and find your place in the middle. I love that, Sarah. That's beautiful. That's a great exercise and a great tip. So if you guys are thinking like you're trying to make a decision, or there's something important, a change that you need to make, or maybe you've had a client that fired you and you're feeling like crap, or something goes wrong, whatever. And this is what, like, you're feeling like you just kind of want to hide from the world. What Sarah shared here in this little exercise can totally help you shift that energy into a better place that is completely in your body. And I bet your feelings and your thoughts will follow it as well. That's great. Love it.
And that's why I use the word and
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And when we realize we can hold a multitude of emotions at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, I feel sad and scared and small, and I feel excited and hopeful and in touch with possibility.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. Both.
Both
Both.
inner
Which we
child,
do all the
inner
time.
self.
Inner child, inner sovereign. I'm going to tell you a funny story in a minute, but I'll wait. All right.
Okay.
Tell us another one. Tell us another one. That's a really good one.
So this is a super, super simple one. And this comes from Donna Eden,
Oh,
who is
yeah.
a pioneer in the world of energy medicine.
Yeah.
It's called the energy hookup. You take your middle fingers, one between your eyebrows, one in your belly button,
Okay.
and you, with both of them, you push in and lift up and hold them pressed in and lifted up.
Okay.
And just let yourself breathe. If it feels good, you can close your eyes and notice if it feels like you're grounding, your body's relaxing. This is actually connecting energy pathways in your body,
Okay.
having your energy flow in the optimal directions. And I find it super connective with myself.
So you take your third and fourth finger in particular.
Just middle
Middle
fingers,
finger. Your middle finger.
your long fingers.
Right, your middle finger, and put one between, like in the third eye, between your eyebrows at the top of your nose, that little space, and then one at your belly button, at
And
your
it doesn't matter
navel.
which hand is which.
Right, left or right, doesn't matter. Just place your fingers there, and people like and lift up, and you can do this sitting up. You could do it laying down. You could do it standing. Right, you could do it anyway.
Yep.
Okay, and just hold that space. Close your eyes for a moment and feel. I think of it like an energy, like a thread from one hand to the next, like a thread of light that sort of runs through your core and is sort of lining you back up again. Is kind of how I think of that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And helping
Yeah.
you reconnect with yourself.
Okay. Nice. My energy person that I used to go to did that all the time. So that's from, I have not done that on my own, but I recognize that move because she used to do that. Interesting. Okay. And that's
I
something
had a
you
meditation.
can, yeah.
I had a meditation partner for years that we worked together, and we would start our sessions. We weren't in the same room. We were working long distance. And we would start each session with that energy hookup because we felt connected with ourselves and with each other. And you can do that before you start a project that feels intimidating.
Oh, okay.
Like you have to write that newsletter or whatever. You're about to go on a podcast. You can do that and center, ground, and move forward from there.
And are you thinking about anything particular? Do you say a mantra? Are you breathing in a particular way? Or you just literally just hold that space?
I'm literally just holding that space. My body naturally takes breaths.
Yeah.
I tend to notice what's happening in my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a focus trying to find something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a noticing, oh, my shoulders just dropped. Oh, I just took a deeper breath.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm noticing this energy moving in my belly.
Okay.
You're not fixing anything. You don't have an agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. The energy
I
hookup.
use, mhm.
You
I
you
use
could
a
do
lot
that
of what
before.
if,
Sorry, go ahead.
I use a lot of what if it's possible statements
Yes, you
in my work.
do. Yeah.
And that to me is just kind of an energy of what if it's possible?
Yeah. So y'all, this is like a Sara Arey hallmark. She always says, what if it's possible? And she'll say, what if it's possible that? And countless versions of answers to that question, depending upon, in fact, you have a deck of cards based on this. You can talk about it in a moment, but it is, incredibly helpful to have that phrase. What if it's possible? In fact, I have it on my task list. I have what if it's possible that it all works out? And every day on my task list, I put that at the top of the tasks. Whatever's going on that day, that's at the top. Always. So I come back to that all the time. That totally is a Sara Arey thing. Yeah. And this energy hookup, you're right. This is from Donna Eden if you all are not familiar with her, she is, well-respected, beloved energy teacher. And, I'll make sure I'll look her up too and link her in the show notes. But that's an exercise you could do. You could walk into the bathroom and do that before you go meet with a client. Or if you've got a scary conversation you've got to have, you can do that for yourself privately for just, in 2 minutes before you go do something that's hard or intimidating. Or that is such a great reminder. Such a great exercise. Thank you, Sara. Love it.
Yes. And I will add, you can also do it after something fabulous happens.
Oh, okay.
Integrate and ground that energy.
Ah, okay.
It's
Say
great
more about that. Yeah, because I don't think about
that.
So say more about that, about after something good happens, because all I'm thinking about is dealing with something difficult, which is funny. Tell me more about that.
I call it harvesting the energy.
Okay.
We can get into a pattern of like plant the field, weed, do all the work things. Okay,
right.
It's done. Next field.
Right. Keep moving.
I've done this project. Next one.
Right.
And it's like we never ingest it, never digest it. And that's why celebration is so important.
Yep.
And celebrating has been shown to be the biggest game changer in creating new habits.
Y'all, did you hear that? Celebrating has been proven to be the biggest game changer in celebrating, anchoring, creating new habits. Amen. Yes.
And this is a way of integrating that energy. It's like great to have outward celebrations. I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I advocate or invite first digesting that energy for yourself.
Yeah.
Like even when it's just, I got that email sent.
Yeah.
Yes, I fucking did this.
Yes.
I actually did this. And taking it in, even when it seems trivial.
Yeah.
And then you're just building on that.
Yeah.
And it's a way of filling your cup.
Yeah. Y'all, this may be when you get your first $10,000 client. Okay. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's little things that you want to take a moment to recognize, and that is huge. We don't do that. Sometimes it's really big things. And you are so right. We are so quick to minimize, blow off. Yeah, that was great. But I still got to deal with right? I'm bad about that. I'm really bad about minimizing the good stuff and moving on to the next problem, whatever that is. So you can use the energy hookup after something that feels really good and just take it in for a moment. Let it land. Fill it up inside. Fill that cup. I love that. That's such an important reminder. Thank you. That's great. Awesome. All right. You got one more, you think?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I have so many more.
You have so many more. Days and days worth. Yeah.
And the one I'll share right now is, and again, you can do this sitting down, is doing hip circles. Just moving your hips. We store so much tension and stress in our hips. And that's the seat of our power.
Quite literally. There you go.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
And so just taking the time to either standing up or sitting down, just moving your hips, and maybe the rest of your body wants to kind of flow with that and breathing into it. And if that feels scary or challenging, that makes sense. There's a lot of conditioning, especially for women,
Yeah.
that disconnects us from our body
Yeah.
because our body is such a source of power and
Yeah.
knowing.
Yeah.
We are so much harder to control when we are in our bodies, so
Yeah.
much harder to offend, so much harder to knock off track.
Harder to intimidate.
Hmm.
Harder to ignore.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So just the simple hip circles and breathing into it and seeing how good can I let this feel in this moment.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be a long time. You can change
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
And you're also creating more space physically, energetically, emotionally as you do this.
You know what? That makes me, there's a move that a yoga teacher that I follow does that she calls knocking on heaven's door. But it's essentially where she stands with her feet wide on the yoga mat and hands at her side and just swings to her left and to her right and lets her arms naturally swing to where you basically sort of are patting yourself on your backside as when you swing from your left swing to your right. And she'll do that loosely where you just, your feet are planted, but your upper torso is spinning from one side to the next faster and faster and faster, and then slows it back down again. And she calls it, you're knocking on heaven because you're knocking on yourself as you're swinging. It is totally sort of doing a version of hip circles, which I hadn't thought of before. And I think it's all about moving energy in some way. That's, I wouldn't have thought of that in the context that you're sharing, but that makes a lot of sense to me because it does literally move your body. And when you are sitting at your desk all day, or you're sitting with clients all day, or you're doing your billing, or you're doing the grunt work that comes with owning your practice, stand up and move your hips, not just because it feels good physically, but because it moves the energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because
Nice.
so many of our tasks have our energy moving vertically, and the energy is actually crisscrossing and spiraling.
Mm.
And that movement promotes that energy movement.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we haven't talked about it today, but I know you're also a big fan of dancing. Which I agree with.
Yes.
I think sometimes the best thing you can do if you need to get your own energy into a better place is to turn on a YouTube video and stand up at your desk and dance for a minute. I'm a big fan of that too. So Sara, this has been a lovely conversation, and you have done a masterful job of staying on track no matter how many times I've thrown us off. Thank you for that. Speaking about staying grounded and centered, I love so many things that you said today about how I love the whole thing about that we get into our heads. And even when we're talking about mindset, even when we're talking about changing the way we think about something and the importance of that, that will only carry you so far. You have to get it into your heart and into your body all the way down. I love that. And this whole thing about learning how to own your power, stop being afraid of it, stop being apologetic for it. Understand that when you embrace and embody your own power, you're not going to hurt people. You're going to empower others. Like you said a moment ago, you said when you are more comfortable with your own power, you're going to make it easier for other people to be comfortable with theirs, which is that is the thing. That is the thing. That's what you and I are both all about. I know. Thank you so much for sharing this today. My hope is that people will hear this and some will be kind of shaking their head a little bit, kind of going, what? But that I'm hoping it will stir a little something, and that the next time they feel themselves holding back or avoiding something because it just feels a little bit much or shrinking in some way from their own awesomeness, I hope that they will replay your words in their head and go, well, what if it's possible? Yeah. So Sara, for people who want to connect with you, learn more about you, follow you, talk to you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? And how can people learn more about what you have to bring?
Well, one is I have a book called The Universe Fucking Loves Me.
Yeah.
And it's on Amazon and in some metaphysical stores. And you can also, if you want a signed copy or if you want the card deck and the journal that come with it, you can get those from my website. My website is refutureyourlife.com. If you want to find out about one-on-one coaching and group programs, you can just write me.
As she's talking, I pulled out my deck of cards from The Universe Fucking Loves Me.
You want to draw a card real fast?
Oh, I could, but finish what you're saying and then I'll do that. Yeah. What a great
idea.
idea.
So if you want to find out about one-on-one coaching or group programs, send me an email, Sara@refutureyourlife.com.
Sara@refutureyourlife.com. Refuture Your Life, which I will have in the show notes below. So you are taking some one-on-one clients, but your book is a great introduction. It has a workbook. You have the book itself, you have a workbook, and then she's got this deck of cards that she's created, which I keep in my desk to pull out when I need a moment of inspiration. Isn't that funny? I was just playing with them yesterday. Not even thinking about us having this conversation.
That.
I'm going to pull a card, you all. So let me think about this. I have to, I know better than to do this without being thoughtful first. And then we will bring this to a close. Hold on a second. Let me think. Okay. So what I do is I just sort of try to go inside for just a moment and think, what do I want to know or understand right now? What's a message that I need to receive right now? What's something I need to be thinking about right now? And then I just sort of play and shuffle the cards. They are what if it's possible statements and see what pops out. I'm going to randomly pull one. Okay. And here's what I pulled. Y'all, I've never done this on this program before. Oh, it's so perfect. Of course it's perfect. So the card says, what if it's possible that my life can change for the better? And then what Sara always adds is an I choose statement to go with that. So what if it's possible that my life can change for the better? I choose to take my next step with hope, humor, determination, and ease. How perfect is that? I choose to take my next step with hope, humor, determination, and ease. Yeah. So y'all, that's what happens for you when you embody your power. When you use the techniques that Sara has showed you today, when you're stepping into a moment in your practice or in your life where you are being called to expand in some very real way, and everything in you knows it. And everything in you is like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. What if it's possible that your life can change for the better? Choose to take your next step with hope, humor, determination, and ease. I really like that part. Sara, this is great. This is exactly what I hoped it would be, as I knew it would be. Before I bring this to a close, is there anything we haven't said, I haven't asked you, anything you feel called to share that will make this episode complete?
The word love comes up for me. When I talk about power and being rooted, what I'm really talking about is your access to love. To being the powerful love in the world that you're here to be.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Just a few weeks ago, I was talking with a client about who she loves among her clients. Who are the clients that you just love? You just love being in the room with them. You love doing the work with them. You love being present with them. You love serving them. You love watching them grow. And she looked at me like there was a whole new concept. And yet I know that it's in there because this particular person tears up all the time about the importance of her work, right? So yeah, be a force for love in the world. Own your power. Embody all of it. Yeah. Good work. All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. You are such a delight. Y'all, this has been a treat for me. I think it's probably been a treat for you. Go back and listen to this more than once because you will hear something new out of it every single time you every time you listen. And by all means, reach out to Sara directly. We'll have all those links below. Let me know what your big takeaway is from this today. I'd love to hear where this lands for you and what it stirs up for you in whatever way it's meant to. And have an awesome week. And I will see you next time right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye, everybody. If this program has come to be important to you, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two things. First, would you follow or subscribe to the show right here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode. And it helps me too for the same reason. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. There, all you have to do is click on the plus sign that usually you'll find at the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow, which will be somewhere on that page. That really is one of the most important things you can do to support the podcast and support me. While you're there, it would be extra special if you'd be willing to give me a 5-star rating and a review. And share your favorite episode with a friend, a colleague, someone you think could use this information. Could you do that? I promise if you do, I will love you forever. The truth is, you matter a lot to me, and I value your support more than words will ever convey. So if you do that or any of those things, that would just be beautiful. Thank you, sweet friend. I appreciate you more than you know. And I will see you back here again soon.